Good day.
Okay.
So it's supposed to be now on. So we are recording.
No, okay. We are recording now.
Yes. We are recording, and good to see you, Efthymios. It's so great to be able to communicate over such distance. But
technology has good sides, and artificial intelligence too. But
and the artificial intelligence too. Yes. Well, our viewers already know you because you were kind enough to give me an interview a while ago, and it is uploaded to the IHR YouTube channel. And this informal conversation that we now have has a certain object. It's more like exchanging some news, providing some updates in regard to a little project we worked on together for the last year or so. Now, a bit of background for the viewers who didn't have a chance to watch our previous conversation. Professor Efthymios Nicolaidis from Athens. He's a historian of science. We just had a chat before that. He's about to go to Paris to teach astronomers there about the history of their trade. We had a very good relationship within the framework of Project Science and Orthodoxy around the world, which runs since 2016, isn't it? Exactly. Now it's towards the end of its second phase to be wrapped up this year. We had such a beautiful cooperation. I have learned so much from Efthymios, his team in Athens, and other participants in the project. And one of the outcomes of this cooperation in the SO project, Science and Orthodoxy Around the World, was this idea that we had more than a year ago, to apply for funds from that interesting and complex project, International Research Network for the Study of Science and Belief in Society. And let's share the screen for a moment for the benefit of the viewers. So this is the official website of INSBS, the acronym. And we have applied for funds as a small corporation, for the purposes of a small corporation. And about this little project, we have written a few blog posts that are available in the Faith and Science section of the website of IHR, the Australian Institute for Orthodox Christian Studies. For example, this is the latest update, and you see here the actual name of our little project within INSBS, Contemporary Orthodox Christian Views of Artificial Intelligence in Cradle and Diaspora or Diaspora Communities. Now, this being said, we are now near the end of the project. We have undertaken research on our own, and we had exchanged news and updates between us, but we thought it would be useful for the viewers, broader audiences, to become aware of the importance of this project. Now, the idea of the project actually belongs to Efthymios. Efthymios, can you give us some background, please, as to your interest in artificial intelligence?
Yes, thank you, Doru. I must say that we have learned a lot from you during this 6 or 7 years now of SO project, because we have the chance to collaborate with people that are from different fields. We are historians of science, you have studied theology, but as I said informally before, you became also an historian of science and an historian of the theological views on the work.
That's a good nuance, because I cannot claim to be a historian of science, but maybe I'm a historian of theological ideas about science.
Exactly. And so we have learned a lot, because there is an important field now of historians of science who are interested about the relation science and religion. But these people, including me, are not formatted in theology. We do not know, the real theological background. Maybe we know the historical background, the scientific background, but not the theological background. So this collaboration is really, really very important for us. We have learned a lot. And finally, I think that historians should and must collaborate with theologians, because theology and all the history of, let's say Christianity, because we are working on Orthodox Christianity, has a very important place on the history of the society. So we cannot do without that. For the background of our small project, in these last years of SO project, Science and Orthodox Around the World, we understood that there are some fields which are of seminal importance now. And one of these fields is the artificial intelligence, because it involves scientists, it involves philosophers, it involves the state, of course, politics, and of course, theology, and of course, the religions. I have started to be interested in this field the last 3 years. We are also shooting a documentary film on the relation between artificial intelligence and orthodoxy. So I had the chance to make some interviews with people who are interested about this field and who are theologians or scientists. And what I can say about orthodoxy is that Orthodox has not yet defined, its view and its positions toward the recent developments of artificial intelligence. It's a work in progress for Orthodoxy.
May I interrupt you for a moment, please? Do we, for example, I think you're right. I myself, I couldn't find anything, let's call it official or semi-official, about artificial intelligence from any kind of Orthodox authority. But I think this is a deeper issue for us, because we don't seem to have formulated, at least not in the last 2 decades or so, a clear idea about technology. How do we relate to technology, to technological advancement? I know there's a lot of discussion, for instance, about biotechnologies, and many contributions during the 6 or 7 years of projects so have addressed this topic of biotechnology, bioethics, and so on. But even there, it appears that there are different views, different opinions, and even the Holy and Great Council of Crete in 2016 has given only very let's call them indirect guidelines.
Mhm.
There's nothing like in other church traditions where you have, okay, so this is a decree and we go by that decree and so on and so forth. So I think it's a wider problem, orthodoxy and technology, and because of the various voices that are heard in the area of technology, we realized, that's mainly you, because I followed in your footsteps. You have realized that there's a lot to do in the area of artificial intelligence, and again, we cannot expect very soon to have anything clear from some ecclesiastical authorities, for example.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And there are two issues. One issue is the information. Many Orthodox theologians who are interested about artificial intelligence are not informed enough by scientists, and this is very important to promote this interaction, because artificial intelligence is many things, from everyday life and our mobile telephone, for example, until exactly until the future plans and the ideas about artificial consciousness.
Yeah.
So there are many discussions, philosophical, theological, and these discussions are going on. And it was very interesting to make research on the websites of Orthodox, Christians who speak about artificial intelligence, with conversation, or even articles and some books published now.
That's yeah, I mean, the information isn't absent. There is information out there, especially, let's call them, in popular places like websites and blogs, not necessarily sanctioned by, say, the academia or the church. And there's like a jungle out there. At least I found some of these blogs in Romanian. That I don't know. You don't know what you read. Is it some kind of science fiction, post-apocalyptic, whatever kind of scenarios and stuff like that? But information is there, and it should be explored, and it should be analyzed and discussed. And this is just the beginning. What we are doing now with this little project, scratching the surface to see what opinions are out there, and perhaps establish some kind of taxonomy, some kind of relation between certain attitudes to artificial intelligence or technology more broadly, and so on and so forth. Can you, for instance, at this stage, can you draw a line between, say, more popular views about artificial intelligence and, say, more scholarly or academic views, or even ecclesiastical?
This is very important to know, to classify the websites and the publications between those who are, as you said, very popular, and some of them present an apocalyptic view of artificial intelligence, and others who are scholars, and they are really searching about the real philosophy and to have ethical positions today for specific, problems who are rising by artificial intelligence now. There are many specific problems, not the philosophical idea about consciousness it's not for today.
Yeah.
But there are other problems,
Yeah.
How, for example, artificial intelligence works with algorithms, and how to integrate some human values and some Orthodox Christian values in those algorithms. And this is a discussion now. I found this is a discussion, and this is very important. And just to a last word, that some officials, I would say, from of the Orthodox Church say that we do not want to be officially involved in these ethical issues. We have our opinions and views. We say these views, but we do not want to have an official place in the ethical, discussions now. And
Which
this is important.
Yeah, it is very important, and I think I know this can bring some people to some kind of exasperation, some kind of a sense of confusion and hopelessness because they don't get from the church clear guidelines. We have to do this, like the Ten Commandments. There's nothing like this. But I believe that this is something that has to do, again, a historical perspective, if you like, has to do with traditional views and attitudes pertaining to Orthodox Christianity. Because even if we think in the past, in the first millennium, Christian millennium of the ecumenical councils or local and regional councils, they have never been convoked, brought together, in order to, say, elaborate a strategy for the next 1,000 years. There's nothing like that, or hypothesizing about futures, different futures, alternate realities, if you want to call them that. But all these councils have been convoked to answer, to give response to immediate and present challenges for the ecclesial mindset, for the ecclesial phronima, I think that we are still walking along the same path today. We do not hurry, we don't rush to have a say about things, because first of all, we need to see the actual thing. We do not issue dogmas and canons on hypotheticals. And I think this is very important for the Orthodox tradition. From my viewpoint, it's a sign of wisdom. We refer to a certain phenomenon when the phenomenon is at hand. We can analyze it, we can contemplate it, we can interpret it, and we can assess its outcomes. Let me give you an analogy. For example, with the canonization of saints. I know in certain traditions, someone died and immediately that person is declared a saint for one reason or another. In our tradition, only rarely we see such examples of saints who have been acknowledged by the church immediately as such. We need to see the reverberations of their lives, the outcomes of their activity, their input. And it's the same with everything else. We do not rush to say something definitive about a phenomenon, a development of some sort, cultural, scientific, historical, social, whatever, before we see its outcomes. And I believe that this is important. Unfortunately, many Orthodox at the grassroots have lost patience. And we can understand why. There are so many challenges in this day and age, including this, or even earlier, we were talking here, and a tiny voice from my computer started to say whatever stuff. Yeah. Why? Okay, I haven't asked anything. we were talking among ourselves. So these are challenges, and you can understand why, for example, some people can get a sense of hopelessness. There's so much technology. We cannot cope with the step, whatever the quickness of this progress. and we need to know what to do. The church, on the other hand, works on a different scale of things, and as I said, it is interested in wise assessments based on facts and the outcomes of facts. This is perhaps a source of tension within the Orthodox camp, the Orthodox Church. But I believe that the work that scholars do, researchers do, historians of science, scientists, theologians, philosophers, and so on and so forth, this work fills a gap. At least that's where I would locate, for instance, even our little project. Mm-hmm. So there's, on the one hand, the view of the church, the official church, that has to adhere to traditional principles. Don't rush, don't be hasty to judge something before you see what the outcomes of that something are. On the other hand, there's the desire of people at the grassroots to get some clear guidelines, and we feel a gap. And I think this is the importance of our undertaking, not only this little project, but the research behind the documentary you are recording, and so on and so forth. We are providing not necessarily guidance, but at least sound information.
Mm-hmm. And we must say that our project is a case study of the whole Orthodox, because Orthodoxy is a very complex, of course, organization, many autocephalous churches, etc. So it's a case study because we are studying the opinions and views of Greeks and Romanians in Greece and Romania in the diaspora.
Yeah.
So there are many other views, of course.
Yeah, of course.
But that is important because the diaspora, I think, I don't know if you share my view, my opinion, that the main discussion of all these new matters are happening more in the diaspora than in the
traditional countries.
The original countries. I don't know if you share the same view, because in the diaspora, people, they are in contact with other religions, with other dogmas, and with also the science, the hard science, for example, the diaspora in the States. They are more in contact with science who are doing now the front research of artificial intelligence than in Greece or in Romania.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I can share this with you and the viewers. I was surprised to find, at least in my case, to find a lot of discussion and opinions voiced and so on and so forth in Romania rather than in Australia. Australians are a bit I don't know, apathetic. They suffer of apathy, and for the time being, I cannot say that, for example, Romanian diaspora, Romanian communities in Australia are in any way interested as communities in this topic of artificial intelligence, or but any other matters of say bioethics or ethics of the environment. Even they are very passive. There is a bit more in terms of Greek communities in Australia, but even their stances, their voices are much less present than in America, for example, in the United States and North America more generally. I mean, North America with the United States and Canada appear to be the place where something happens, where discussions unfold, take place, and so on and so forth. And you are right. I mean, the circumstances there are different. And perhaps the exposure of the Orthodox communities in North America to ideas in science, philosophical movements, and so on and so forth, that kind of exposure is much broader and intense than elsewhere. At least that's what I discovered. As I said, to return to the Romanian case, I found so many blogs and websites, especially unofficial blogs and websites of Romanian Orthodox, discussing matters of technology, including artificial intelligence. I was surprised. Unfortunately, they are mainly those apocalyptic kind of voices, and I don't think they do any service to the community at large. At least that's what I found.
We must record them in order to show what happens now.
Oh, which is what our little project does. You know, we are just scratching the surface by trying to identify these voices and to classify them, you know, in what kind of opinions these are. Are they official, semi-official, unofficial? Are they against? Are they for? And so on and so forth. And of course, it will be interesting when we reach our conclusions at the end of the project, and we submit our article to an international journal to see what came out of this effort.
But finally, I think that these case studies are finally they are representative of what is happening in Orthodoxy. I hope so.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, even if, let's say, they are unrepresentative, but at least they'll help others to clarify their own thoughts.
Exactly, yes.
And hopefully, the outcomes of our research will help even ecclesiastical authorities to have a better idea of what's on the ground. Because, as I said earlier, I think that what we are facing now, it's like an engine that works with two different kinds of speeds: the ecclesiastical whatever dimension and the popular dimension, where the church, I repeat, historically speaking, it is correct, traditionally speaking, it's correct to not to hurry, not to rush to pronounce some kind of verdict on artificial intelligence or technological advancements. But on the other hand, there's the pastoral need, I think, the pastoral need, which is evident, it's obvious in these strange voices, popular voices out there. And people would need some kind of guidelines, not necessarily something like the Decalogue, you know, the Ten Commandments, but to have some kind of guidelines as to how to proceed, so that we can look at technological progress, innovation, and so on and so forth, in a more relaxed way, more cold-blooded, so to speak, so that we can actually see what actually happens. For the time being, I think we don't even see what happens. I won't quote names, I won't give a name, but for example, I read an article that was widely distributed via the Romanian media, including by the main website of the Romanian Patriarchate, an article written a few years ago by a priest, and this was supposed to be, you know, something like a semi-official view of artificial intelligence, what artificial intelligence is and does, and how we Orthodox are supposed to well, considerate. And as you said earlier, this gentleman being a priest and a theologian, I saw complete lack of scientific information. So you write a document which supposedly gives people some kind of orientation, but you have no scientific foundation. He didn't speak to anybody, this man. Why I keep saying the 10 Commandments? Because his article looks like the 10 Commandments. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Why the artificial intelligence can't be this or can't do that? How can you tell? You haven't read anything. There's no bibliography there. There are no sources. He did not interview any scientist that works in the field. And by the way, even in Romania, I found this out. There are scientists, technologists heavily invested in artificial intelligence research, but their voices aren't heard, at least not in ecclesiastical milieus. Mm-hmm. And see, when you have this kind of attitude, you know, an Orthodox priest claiming to address the matter with authority, you know, but has no information whatsoever in terms of the scientific foundations of this science and technology, then you realize that we have a big problem. And I was surprised, to say the least, when I noticed that that article, initially published in some kind of, well, actually news, official news outlet, don't remember now the exact name, but it wasn't published on some blog or whatever, obscure place. Oh, it was a big, one of the big newspapers in Romania in its digital form. So this article spread like a wildfire everywhere, was copied and pasted in I don't know how many places, websites, blogs, and all that, including on the website of the Patriarchate. And this leads to confusion. So, yeah, go on.
No, you are absolutely right, because it reminds me the problem we have in science with what we call now pseudoscience, because it spreads very widely, you know, and it reminds me this thing. But it's why I think that our small article will contribute in the pastoral need that you are saying, because there is really pastoral need. People want some guidelines, even if these guidelines are not definite, you know. There are guidelines who maybe they will change, but for the moment, there are some questions, and people ask these questions.
Yeah. And yeah, I can give you another example with another priest, also Romanian, who wanted to challenge, well, the validity of the Turing test for this chat, whatever thing that everyone is crazy about now these days, you know, chat, GTP, GPT, whatever. And this priest asked the chatbot to answer some questions of theology, and then to compose a prayer to the Mother of God. And from the viewpoint of the priest, the failure of the chatbot to elaborate an Orthodox prayer is a clear sign of spiritual incapacity. I mean, you read and you don't know what to think. Anyway, so these are the things that, I mean, I mentioned, you know, an exotic example. There are you know, nicer words that have been said and nicer things that have been done. But yeah, the fact that there are such voices, and some of them claiming some kind of authority, makes our work very necessary and useful and actually urgent, because something should be done.
Oh, yes, I agree totally with you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much for
Thank you, Doru.
this update and chat. It's always such a pleasure to speak to you, Efthymios. It's
And
actually
thank you for this conversation, with this the exchange we had, because as I'm realizing there are so many different things, and the exchange between us is very important.
yeah, it's mutually enriching, and hopefully others who are watching this video will find it well, not necessarily informative, but at least will have something to think about. Once again, thank you.
Thank you, Doru. Thank you.